There's a map of Colombia, South America, and Venezuela is right over here. um, Along this area, the coast here, there's a lot of indigenous tribes, and they're basically protected by the United Nations and all this type of stuff too. But there's been, I'm kind of leading up to something besides indigenous tribes, because something else. This is right off of Wikipedia. Talking about the indigenous peoples of Colombia. And you got your I'm not familiar with this stuff. I'm kind of something else I'm leading up to. Highland peoples and the lowland peoples. The lowland peoples are obviously near the coast. The coast being like on this map. This map's more clear. Be right in here. These would be the lowland peoples, and you got the mountains up in here. Here's Venezuela. So sometimes when a when a Bolivar tanks, of Venezuela, because they keep reissuing new Bolivars, stuff becomes too expensive in Colombia, and I can't go shopping over there. But lowland peoples, right? They had this area, Coahuila. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's right over here, or if you look at it on this map, right over here. Now these indigenous people, has been living in this area for like, I don't know, 1,000 years or more. But it's a primitive culture. It's going back, nothing's changed. Um, but there's been conflict between the government troops and actually the factions of the government troops and these indigenous people. So, like for example, on December 16th, 1991, at least 40 indigenous men, women, and children from the Nasa tribe were massacred in the Hola community in northern Coahuila by a block of AUC paramilitary organization. I'm not going to get into all this stuff, but there's been stuff going on for like years. But I'm going to get on here with this. In this area where these indigenous tribes are, there's a lot of gold, and they actually pan it out by hand. They don't even, they don't have any sophisticated equipment to do or take the gold out. And there's a lot of crude oil. And there's other natural resources. I'll tell you one a little bit in a minute. But it's interesting. These people are sitting on this stuff. They can't go in there because it's theirs, and it's also jointly owned by an old established family in Colombia. And the guy we were talking to, I forgot, well, I wouldn't say his name anyway. I forgot what it is off the top of my head, but I just remember his nickname, because everybody called him by his nickname. His nickname was Gumby, which, in the United States, I mean, if you had an important guy that was attached to, connected with an old established family in Colombia that had a lot of power within the political circles, you pretty much would never use a name like that, but that was his name. And I verified that with somebody who knew in Venezuela. Told me, they had to ask around with a bunch of people, but they heard of him. They heard of him. He was legit. That was because I get suspicious. Somebody tells me something. I don't care if it's 10 people. I check up on things left and right. But in this area along here, there's a lot of gold and there's a lot of crude oil. But what's interesting is they're sitting on, I don't know how much, but it's an astronomical sum. But even in a small section where just a few of these tribes are, they valued the hardwood retail value. And of course, if you extract all the hardwood at once, you wreck the land, and if you dump it on the market real fast, you're not going to get the price. But they had the price at is $1.5 trillion worth of hardwoods in this area. It's exotic hardwoods that go in all this expensive furniture and stuff like that. So these people are kind of like living like the most primitive existence going. Yet, they're sitting on some of the most valuable things on this earth. Gold and crude oil and these exotic hardwoods. And could almost compare that with a lot of stuff that goes on even today. If you don't have a valuation assigned to something, it could be nothing. It could be nothing. It could be meaningless. Um, a piece of gold could be nothing but a rock. And actually, I don't like that stuff because it's no industrial value tells me that thing could be priced any way you want it. Any way you want it. Because I think in the new world, they're gonna be more interested in commodities that have items that have a use to it, not something that's just a pretty shiny rock. But it could be said that these people that live along this area, they would not even have known that these things were worth that much money until somebody comes along and tells them it. So, I mean, I just figured I'd throw that out as an interesting story because, you know, nobody from an industry can go in here and take that stuff. They can't take any. They can't go in there with gold mining equipment. They can't go in there with oil wells or anything like that. And I know Colombia is actually an oil-producing country too, but there's a lot of areas they can't touch because indigenous tribes. So, it's interesting that you got people that are like living like the most primitive existence. In effect, are probably the most. They're extremely wealthy. They're extremely wealthy. It's just that they have no way to extract that wealth. And you might want to compare that little tidbit to some things that are going on today, because sometimes the numbers don't mean much.